upon a time there was truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative hid the truth of mass suffering, injustice and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Hey there, Jordan Sheridan live from the United Corporations of America. This is Status Quo in the house. Already 200 people watching. Oh boy, what a big show we have. A big show we have on my brand new laptop. Brand new laptop. Paid for by you, the Quo community. The Quo community. We also have a special guest today. Let's see if it works. Oh, wait. Oh, wait. Speak, Jen. Let us know, folks, if you hear Jen. I set up the frames, and I don't know if the frames look well because I'm not really that tech adept. But if the audio works and the visuals work, that's all I care about. So let's see if it works for people. We're on a slight delay here. Everybody can hear Jen? Speak, Jen, speak. All right, I think it's working. So Jen and I are going to go through stories of the day. Oh, no volume. Hold on. No, hold on. Okay. Speak, Jen.
Hey, everyone. Please hear me. Let's hope this works.
Can you hear Jen now? Let's see if it works. There's a delay. Can hear Jordan, but can't hear Jen.
Oh, no.
Hold on. Jen, say what you ate for breakfast today.
I just had an Oregon vegan breakfast shake.
Hold on. Keep going. Yes. There we could. All right. They could hear now. All right.
Good.
So I don't know because it sounds like an echo on my end, but we'll see. So we're going to have Jen on more. We're going to try to have live guests as well once I get the hang of this, where it's raise volume. So I don't know if that's on Jen's end or my end. Raise your volume, Jen. So right now we're about to hit 99,000 deaths due to coronavirus. Let me play a quick video showing you, because there are 17 states that numbers are increasing as we, more volume? How much louder can I get it? As we reopen the economy around the country, 17 states have increasing numbers. Let's play a quick clip.
I'm Brianna Keeler, and you are watching CNN's special live coverage of the coronavirus pandemic. The U.S. is now just hours away from reaching 100,000 deaths from the coronavirus. It's an unfathomable loss of life, solidifying the fact that the U.S. is undergoing the deadliest outbreak in the world. No other nation has lost more people, with more than 1 in 4 deaths around the globe happening here. Let's leave this map up so we can see where the cases are rising, where they're falling. We can see where they're remaining steady as well there. 17 states are currently seeing an increase in cases, and this is happening as reopening plans for all 50 states are underway. Crowds have been packing beaches, boardwalks, and pools. You've seen that. Few masks in sight there. Downward trends are prompting one World Health official to urge caution. He fears not just a second wave, but a second peak in this first wave.
We need to be also cognizant of the fact that the disease can jump up at any time. We cannot make assumptions that just because the disease is on the way down now, that it's going to keep going down, and then we're going to get a number of months to get ready for a second wave. We may get a second peak in this wave.
Joining me now.
Remember, everyone, press that like button. We got almost 300 people watching already. 159 of you have pressed that like button. More people that press that like button, the more people that will see this live stream. We also, let's not forget, we are making real progress here in our GoFundMe. We are now, what is that? $495 away from hitting $104,000, less than $7,000 away from hitting $110,000. So if you got any bucks, drop it in the GoFundMe. Jen will put the link in there. Also, we got a super chat going, so keep it coming. We'll try to get to all of your super chats and shout outs for GoFundMe. So Jen, call me old fashioned, but I tend to think that if there's still a deadly pandemic going on with 17 states increasing their counts, while many of those same states are relaxing the social distancing and reopening things, wouldn't that probably lead to an influx of cases and us likely back to where we started at a stay-at-home order in a lot of these states, furthering an economic depression, which is a depression? It's just the media is not reporting it as a depression yet because the stock market is still up. Am I missing something, that we're reopening economies where 17 states have increasing cases and quite a lot of those states have steady cases?
I don't think you're missing a thing. Common sense would be exactly what you just said. States are increasing in numbers with these cases, not going down. There are certain states that are going down a bit, but others are not. And so here we have the lifting of restrictions all over the place, and everyone, I'm sure, saw those viral videos from Memorial Day weekend where people, like in the Lake of the Ozarks, were just shoulder to shoulder in swimming pools and at NASCAR races, shoulder to shoulder, and just people are not taking this seriously. And it's horrifying. And we have officials reopening beyond this individual stupidity.
And the thing that I find crazy is we are talking about, quote unquote, reopening the economy. She needs a new mic. We'll work on it. We got the vision.
Jordan, do you want me to plug in my real mic instead of my headphones? I don't know what that'll do.
Yeah, try it.
Okay.
We're only live. Who cares?
Sorry, guys. We'll figure it out.
What I find, yeah, because I do have my mic in, so maybe your mic needs to be put in. Artificial Morphison, $5 in the super chat. If you put Confederate flags on masks, will Trump supporters finally wear them? That is a brilliant idea. That's a brilliant idea, Artificial Morphison. I'll send that into the Trump hotline. See what happens. Thanks for the super chat. So, hold on. Are you testing?
I am trying to switch my mic over to the new mic instead of on my headphones.
Okay. So, while you're doing that, while Jen is switching to a new mic, what I find amazing here is, quote unquote, reopening the economy in a lot of these states when, you're talking millions and millions of people who have not gotten their unemployment, who have not gotten their $1,200 crumb cake from the Republican and Democratic Party. How are these businesses going to even sustain themselves if there's not enough customers. It's not just that people have been laid off on the East Coast or the states most heavily affected. They've been laid off all over the place. So why is it that we have beaches open with people packed like sardines? Why is it that we have the Ozark? I mean, the pool looked cool, and I love the show, but the Ozark people littered together. I mean, I'm not trying to be like, mom and dad telling you stay off the weed here, don't drink, but you shouldn't be on top of each other, because now all it takes is literally for one person to spread this thing far and wide, much less dozens and dozens of people packed in pools, beaches, parks. To me, Jen, hopefully your mic's working, this is a capitalist death cult. We, in the Republican Party, and I don't even hear the Democratic Party screaming about this, have just accepted people are going to die, but we can't keep business closed because our donors want business open.
Yeah, hopefully people can hear me better, but it really has been the capitalists who are shouting from the rooftops, we need to reopen at the cost of lives. And we won't even find out for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, how much, that pool party at the Lake of the Ozarks will lead to more cases.
Hold on. Keep going. We're doing, your window is like going crazy. Maybe something to do with your microphone. Hold on.
Could be.
Keep going.
Okay, yeah, we won't find out for a while. And that's how people work, based on immediate gratification. There are people who went to that Lake of the Ozarks party who might be saying right now, oh, nothing bad happened, it's all okay. Nothing happened, but we won't find out for a long time if it was indeed okay or not okay for this pool party to happen. That happened all over the place. Actually, the week before last, right when Ocean City, Maryland opened, I went there, and there was hardly anyone there at all. It was totally fine, able to socially distance properly the entire time. Fast forward to last weekend, and now I'm echoing. Fast forward to last weekend with Memorial Day, and it was packed, just absolutely packed, and people are not getting it. We need our leaders to get it. We need our leaders to speak up.
I think there's an echo. I'm going to try and hold on.
Well, guys. Yeah, it's really, really scary. There's talks, Jordan and I were talking about this right before we went on, that that de Blasio saying New York City might reopen in the middle of June, and I have mixed feelings about that. One of my first thoughts is, I want to zoom to New York. I want to get some work done. Jordan and I need to exchange some things like the old computers so that I can sell them to accommodate, the cost of the new computer, things like that. We need to do some things with our business bank account, things like that, we need to get done, but it has to be done safely. So while I desperately want to get to New York, I desperately want to get on the field, I know Jordan is itching to get back out in the field, it has to be done. To be done smartly. We all have our own individual needs and desires, and we all want this to be over. This pandemic has been unlike anything anyone living has experienced before. And nobody has any answers. Everyone's mental health, I don't want to say everyone, but for the most part, everyone I've spoken to is having some mental health responses to this pandemic, to being indoors all the time, to only being able to take socially distanced walks with masks on. It really has an effect on people. And there are just no answers except for we need to pay attention to best practices, the Faucis of the world. We even have, Rahm Emanuel saying we can't hide behind Dr. Fauci, and he was saying some more conservative leaning things today with regards to this. So I just think it's scary how not seriously taking this.
And Sorry, folks. We'll test out the audio again. Jordan, your frame and Jen should be flipped. This is what happens when you don't have a producer. This is what happens when you don't have a producer per se, but we're working on it. It's weird because I muted my mic and left yours on. People said you sounded good, but my audio went out. So anyway, we'll just have to test this with Colin tonight. But hopefully they could hear me now. So if people are feeling, and by the way, press the like button. We got 415 people watching. 250 of you have pressed that like button. Press that like button. We need more people to smash it. More people that press like button. More people that will see the live stream. Remember, if you're feeling supportive today, GoFundMe. We're $495 away from hitting the magic $104,000 raised. This is all, I mean, right now we're not in the field, but when we go back in the field, we need more funding. And we are spending more money on advertising. If you didn't notice, our subscriber count is finally moving up a little bit. That's because we're advertising, which Jen could talk about a little bit more. So shifting from the coronavirus to Joe Biden, which might put people in a worse mental frame. Joe Biden, who national polls doing okay, but state polls, as we've seen in recent polls, he's either losing to Trump in some battleground states or barely winning. So obviously Biden's campaign knows it has a problem among the kiddies and knows it has a problem among Latinos and might have a problem now among African-American voters, if you've been paying attention to his recent comments. So let's take a look, because Joe Biden now has a plan to get the millennials to his side. It's not really involving policy per se. It's more so, buzzwords. Joe Biden's presidential campaign is organizing a new effort among young voters. A sign Biden will aggressively target a group that could be vital in the general election. That has resisted him for much of the Democratic primaries. League 46 will be the coalition of young people that will make Joe Biden the 46th president, says the narrator in an introductory video. Let me play that for you.
Introducing League 46, the coalition of young people that will make Joe Biden the 46th president. League 46 is Students for Biden, Young Professionals for Biden, Young Electeds for Biden. League 46. Sign up, take action.
Ooh, that sounds spicy. Did you hear that, Jen?
That music really gets you going.
Yeah, League 46. I don't know. It sounds like a bowling league at the Port Authority to me, but what do I know? Oh, by the way, thank you, Gene Shahid, $9.99 in the super chat. I understand and agree that we need to take caution, but we need to take more responsibility for our own immune systems. Health is not the same as having a vaccine available. Yes and no. I mean, there have been reports of healthy, athletic people dying, so it doesn't necessarily mean if you drink kombucha every day and or just dandy that you'll escape coronavirus. There's been plenty of reports on athletes getting it and people with strong immune systems basically working in overdrive and dying. So I agree with you, Gene. We need to be cautious. I don't think you should be getting drunk and weakening your immune system during a pandemic. But even with a strong immune system, you could die from this. Tanya, 2 pounds, better now. Thank you. Michael Cuomo, I hope no relation to Andrew. I live in Long Beach, New York. They reopened the boardwalk this weekend, and people by bars aren't wearing masks and not 6 feet apart at all. Second wave coming, $4.99. Thank you, Michael. Couldn't agree more. So, Jen, what is your guess, before I read the story, of Biden's plan to get millennial voters over to his side, which he's going to need? Obama's coalition was very dependent on young people, both times. What do you think Uncle Joe is doing to sell to millennials? Not, by the way, we love older viewers too, but this particular topic has to do with like the 18 to 35 crowd, I would say, which I think you're at the the cusp of.
Oh, thank you, Jordan. You're such a loser. Mean. I'm 35. Yeah, so based on that video, I think his plan is to play some upbeat, funky music, and that's about it. And he has Simone Sanders at the helm here, who I think is 30. And she's a young Black millennial. It's good to have her at the forefront of this, but it doesn't seem like it will have any impact. Millennials and Gen Zers and the younger voters, they don't want to be pandered to. We're not a stupid group of people. We're a group of people who want Medicare for all. We want free public college. We want to have the things that are basic human rights and necessities taken care of just like they should be and as they are in every other developed nation. So his little group, I don't see it working out, and I don't see any grand plan here other than to pander.
And I'm seeing less complaints about your audio, so hopefully that means it works. Thank you for the super chat. Raymond Gordon, $5. Biden told me not to vote for him. End of story. Raymond, I can't tell by your image. Are you an immigrant? Because he did tell some immigrants not to vote for him. Are you a black person? Because he did tell black people not to vote for him. Are you he's told so many groups of people not to vote for him. It's amazing. Raymond, thanks for the $5. NBW Doughboy, $2. Jordan, thank you. You're a legend for surviving COVID. Thank you. Well, I would love to take credit, but without my wonderful girlfriend next to me, it would have been tough. By the way, does your wife or husband at home needle you and nag you that you're eating pretzels too much, or you're eating, come on, I'm eating pretzels. She pulls the bag away from me. This is the kind of thing I deal with.
Because that was their lunch. That's
Yeah.
not lunch.
It was lunch.
And it's not non-GMO.
It's not non-GMO. Oh, don't even get me started. She's wonderful though, and we're talking. We're in the works. I saw some people talking about proposals and things. I mean, they're really peer pressuring me here.
Try to get back to your show.
Oh, excuse me. That's a not. So, Anat and Jen are texting all day, by the way. It's very dangerous for me. So Biden, as he is trying to get millennials, if you didn't see the show yesterday, take a look at Biden yesterday. Here's his big pitch to millennials.
I tell you what, if one is found, I would make sure that every single person in America is able to get a vaccine, period, without any cost. And I would do the same thing with testing right now. And I'd make, look, we need a health care policy. We need to be able to provide people the ability to stay healthy and get healthy. They're the things we need to do, because all the talk about opening up, people aren't going to open up until they have the confidence to know that they gather together, they're not going to get sick. You know, you saw that Columbia study. You saw other studies that if the president acted just 2 weeks earlier, there'd be 54,000 people, more people alive than there are today. We have to move. And what do we have to move on? We have to move on making sure that ordinary people who are breaking their neck, people making hourly wages, who are carrying the rest of us on their back in terms of this virus, that they are able to get the kind of medical help they need as it relates to this pandemic.
Did you hear anything in there, Jen, for millennials? Did you hear anything in that first part for millennials that are going to get the kids coming?
I did not. The millennials are not running towards him.
Okay, let's play the rest. Maybe you'll hear something then.
Mr. Vice President, it's Joe Kernan. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it this morning.
Hey, Joe, how are you?
I'm great. You know, some Democratic pundits say that Sanders and Warren voters are essential for you to win. I know you've probably seen that, but some aren't quite there yet. Others point out, though, that your candidacy surged when it became apparent to mainstream Democrats that Sanders might be the nominee and then they flock to you, a more moderate, perhaps, candidate. Are you prepared now to say you're going to govern as a progressive and enact programs in the mold of Sanders and Warren? And if so, what does that say to either moderate Democrats or independents or even some Republicans dissatisfied with President Trump?
I'm prepared to say that I have a record of over 40 years and that I'm going to beat Joe Biden. Look at my record. The fact is that some areas that I think, for example, I think health care is a right, not a privilege. I do not support Medicare for all. I will not support Medicare for all, but I do support making sure that Obamacare is around with a public option for those who.
So, Jen, he doesn't care if we get to 30% unemployment, if we get to 40% unemployment, if at the moment the estimates are 27.5 million have lost their employer-sponsored health care. He don't give a damn if it gets to 30 million, 40 million. And by the way, the newly uninsured are added to the existing uninsured. So we have nearly 50 million people without health insurance, not to mention all the people with health insurance that can't even use it because they can't afford it. And he says, I will not be for Medicare for all. So that signals no matter what, no matter how bad conditions get, I won't change. Is that an appealing message to the millennial crowd?
Of course not. It's absolutely not an appealing message. And he keeps saying, there was this big kerfuffle over whether he said I'm going to beat Joe Biden or be Joe Biden. Obviously, he meant be. But that's the problem. He's going to be Joe Biden. That's what does not appeal. He talks about his record of 40 years. That's what doesn't appeal. That's the problem right there. And the fact that he's coming out and saying, even though across the board, Medicare for all is supported by Americans, he's still saying, I'm not going to support it. Millennials are not going to come running.
And thank you for the super chat. Swirly Swirl, $5. People were being very reckless. And we have 4 new cases today in a rural county in Indiana. Yep. By the way, I don't have the videos loaded. Wisconsin, the cases are soaring. You remember who was, stoking, let's just have people go vote during a pandemic. We could just wipe down the machines, blah, blah, blah. That would be Joe Biden. Yes, the Republicans pushed it first and foremost, but Joe Biden was not knocking it down. He was telling people go vote, wipe down those machines. And then when he went on with Chris Cuomo after the victory in Wisconsin, then he said, my hunch is this was a mistake. Moonwalking and pretending he was against it the whole time. Okay, so he says, I will not change my mind on Medicare for all, which I did a story, statuscoup.com, about his extensive list of healthcare donors. That's why he won't shift, because he needs their money right now. And as soon as he becomes president, he still needs their money, because as soon as you become president, you got to start reloading for re-election and congressional races. So it's not like he's just going to say, I've seen the light. If he becomes president, I don't need the donors' money anymore. Medicare for all, and UBI, by the way, which is a petition. Jen sent this to me. 300,000 people have signed a change.org petition asking Joe Biden for universal basic income during the pandemic. If he's so bold, if he feels the pain of the American people, why hasn't he called for Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic Party to have a bolder proposal than $1,200 checks and unemployment? I mean, generally, the presidential Congress follows the presidential candidate, not the other way around. So another thing, I haven't even gotten to the details of what his stated plan is for the millennial movement to get millennials to vote for him. But we also need to look at another tantalizing message he has for millennials. And by the way, sorry for people that watched yesterday. I'm going to replay this clip from yesterday. But to those who haven't seen it, by the way, got 550 people watching. Only 360 of you have pressed that like button. Jen, what should they do?
Smash it. Smash that like button. It really helps get YouTube's algorithm going, and it helps more people see the stream.
Yes, the thumbs up button right under the live stream. Let's play, millennials, they tend to care about the burning down of the planet, the imminent extinction of us and our habitat. Let's see what Joe Biden has to say about that.
Things you've seen is the whole idea of whether or not we're going to stop fracking. I would not stop fracking. I'd gradually move away from fracking. I would just not do more fracking on federal lands. I would gradually move us out of the position of relying on oil and gas, and coal. Look, Joe, one of the things you've seen is that no one's going to build another coal-fired plant, period, no matter what the law is. Because now you can build a renewable energy, or you can build a natural gas plant that works better and is cheaper and can have fewer problems. And a lot of the folks who listen to your program every morning, and I listen to it frequently, are already pricing in the price of carbon.
I love how Joe Biden, and by the way, fracking was one of the big reasons that Hillary Clinton lost Pennsylvania, which has been fracked like mother frackers, excuse my French, swear jar.
Swear jar.
But, oh, by the way, thank you, Lawrence Johnson, for the $10 and the GoFundMe. Remember, folks, we got the GoFundMe going. We're now $485 away from hitting $104,000. Jen, is it important for us to raise money in the GoFundMe?
It's so important. That's one of the reasons we are able to get Jordan the technology that he needs, the live view and the new computer that, as you can see, it's streaming so much better. I'm able to Skype in finally. We'll have guests Skyping in, maybe viewers Skyping or calling in. It's so, so important. And once it's safe to get back out in the field, GoFundMe is how we do it. GoFundMe.com/status-who-news. Every single amount helps, and we appreciate you all.
So I love how Joe Biden, maybe it's just old people just tend to be, kind of slow. Bernie wasn't.
Oh my God.
Bernie wasn't. Excuse me. Not all old people, but some old politicians. What's amazing to me, gradually, does he think we have all the time in the world? What planet are you on? The United Nations, before the burning of the Amazon, said we have 12 years before irreversible damage. Now, we have a deadly pandemic going on. Sure, it's helped with pollution and carbon emission to have people not driving as much and things like that. But I don't know, what does gradual shift and him talking about natural gas as an alternative to coal? This is literally talking points from the fossil fuel industry, that natural gas is a smart transition fuel. This is the kind of thing they were saying 10 years ago. And Joe Biden, who is trying supposedly to attract millennials, is literally using fossil fuel company talking points from a decade ago. So is he going to be as bad as Trump on the environment? No, I don't think anyone is as bad as Trump on the environment. Trump just doesn't care at all. But we really don't have the time for a lesser of two evils on the environment, because even the lesser of two evils on the environment still causes planetary destruction. It's just a matter of how quickly. But irreversible is what the United Nations said. The way Joe Biden is talking does not signify to me, forget getting millennials, that he truly understands we needed to act like 10 years ago. And we don't have time for a gradual transition to anything. Again, I think it has something to do with his donors. Jen?
Of course. I think right now, it's not even just I think, it is just a fact. We need to take direct, consistent, dramatic action in order to slow down the climate crisis, in order to have a planet for our children, in order to have a future. And so Joe Biden talking like he does, that fracking not such a huge problem. Let's move off of that topic. That's not the answer that millennials or anyone are looking for. And he needs to pay more attention to groups like the Sunshine Movement and less attention to his donors. Right.
And I also think the bottom line is, and let me read so people know what his actual plan is, if you want to call it a plan. The League 46 will be a coalition, quote, the coalition of young people that will make Joe Biden the 46th president, says the narrator of this video. Simone Sanders, a senior advisor to Biden and one of the most viable spokespersons, will lead the project. League 46 will build on work by the previously launched Students for Biden while forging alliances with young professionals and young elected officials. The organization stems from months of internal discussion on how to... Ooh, hold on. There have been questions about whether enough of those voters drawn to Sanders' comparatively more liberal politics would turn out for Biden, a 77-year-old moderate who's at his most comfortable telling stories from the 1970s, 80s, and 90s this fall. Quote, everyone keeps asking, quote, how do we plan to engage young people in this election? It's really about meeting people where they are. Oh, you got to love these buzz phrases. Simone Sanders said in a telephone call, in a telephone interview. The plan.
People are saying no audio.
It's a delay. There's audio now. The plan for League 46 is that young professionals and office holders working with the campaign will help make inroads with other young voters in their communities. These, quote, local validators, as Sanders described them, will help the campaign connect with new people, whether it's by discussing the challenge of finding work during a pandemic or brainstorming new ideas for engagement. I can't really read anymore because this is pathetic. I mean, I'm saying pathetic. Did you hear any policy in that little announcement? We'll get to Simone Sanders in a second. There's not meet people where they are. This is like, you know, it's like Stronger Together, the sequel. Something that sounds good but doesn't mean anything. There's no policies. They're not talking about what they're going to do for young people. It's just diversity, college professionals. There's no there, and they're not offering the meat of what, or, you know, what are vegans like? The quinoa of what people want, which is Medicare for all, Green New Deal, ending the wars. That's how you get millennials. Not throwing a 30-year-old Simone Sanders face, who, by the way, not PC to say it, Simone Sanders is a fraud. Let's just call it what it is.
Oh, of course she is.
She's a big fraud. She was, with Bernie, press secretary in 2016. Now she's on TV every day, twisting herself into a pretzel, explaining how Biden really, isn't so bad. And it's just terrible. She's always defending him. And you could tell she's really, really struggling to keep a straight face. But why this is troubling, if you want to defeat Donald Trump, is it just really reeks of the Hillary 2016 campaign. There's buzzwords, nicely crafted, I guess advertising or marketing campaigns like you have an expertise in, and of course, the glitzy music and the collage of diverse faces. But there's no actual policies that are going to excite millennials to come out to vote.
Yeah, and that's the thing is millennials can see through fakeness. They can see when things are manufactured versus real. So they're going to see that these little reach out groups, these millennial support groups and things like that, they're manufactured because there's no excitement for Joe Biden, especially among millennials. So the people that they hire to have these meetups and these outreach groups, maybe they took a job like all those people for Bloomberg did, but there's no excitement there. There's no realness there. And that's what Bernie Sanders had and the progressive movement has, is that real excitement and passion. And it's not just for Bernie Sanders as a person, but it's for his policies. Millennials, no, they can see through this. The policies just aren't there. So you can spend all the money you want, Joe Biden. You can form this group with Simone Sanders and friends all you want, but millennials are smarter than this. Just because millennials are young doesn't mean they're dumb.
And by the way, thank you for the GoFundMe. Daniel, $10 in the GoFundMe. Woo! So we are now $475 away from hitting $104,000. Let me not miss our friends in the super chat. Chester Williams, $5. I am excited for when the Democratic establishment ends up in the political wilderness after losing to Trump a second time. They had one job. I don't know if I'm excited about that, but I do think that's, if they keep going the way they're going, it's going to happen. Suffragim, $10. Can you speak more about most of the working class not being able to pay rent, shelter in place? Thank you, Status Quo. Check out my interview I just did with Detroit residents who are rent striking. We are speaking about it, and I'm trying to get more people that are rent striking on the show, so stay tuned for that. Let me see, did I make any? Toonsy, $9.99 in the super chat. Thank you for the super chat. By the way, I see the audio comments. Colin, myself, and Jen, we're going to work on it after the show. So we'll have it better for tomorrow. Just work with us today. At least we got her visually on. Now we'll fix the audio, and tomorrow will all be wonderful. Thank you. Keep the super chats coming. But the thing that I find truly just incredible, Jen, and something's muffling on your end, is Donald Trump right now is like retweeting people who call Hillary Clinton a skank. He's retweeting people fat-shaming Stacey Abrams. He's retweeting people something about Pelosi. I forget what he said. I mean, I don't like... She's drunk. I don't like any of these people politically, but, I don't condone fat-shaming and derogatory terms about women, even though they're warmongers. You have Trump pushing like conspiracy theories that Joe Biden somehow was involved with killing somebody. I mean, this is just crazy, absolutely crazy, disgusting stuff. And it's just, it doesn't faze anybody anymore because that's what Trump has set up. There is no bottom for Trump, and people just like, oh, Trump, he did this, and they move on. But that's the point. That's why you need excitement on the Democratic side. That's why you need young people revved up. That's why you need Latinos revved up. That's why you need younger millennial black voters revved up, because Trump is galvanizing the crazies out. I'm not saying every one of Trump's supporters are crazy, but the base is crazy. The base kind of, that dark side of them likes this kind of behavior, not to mention the fact that he won't even wear a mask. He's making that into a culture war. Didn't Pelosi fat shame Trump? That's a good point. She did call him morbidly obese. That's true. Good point. Two wrongs don't make a right, but Pelosi shouldn't say that and Trump shouldn't say that. But the point is, Trump's base are true believers, clearly. He's making this a big culture war. And frankly, 150,000 people could die, 200,000 people are going to die. He's gonna keep trying to reopen the economy. And I read a story today, there might be some indicators in the fall that things are starting to turn back around on the positive end. If the economy is starting to see life again closer to the election, it doesn't really matter what horrible things Trump does. And we haven't even gotten to the fact, Jen, they've barely even opened the floodgates against Joe Biden. You're starting to see the ads that Bernie would not run. And I've been talking for a story to a lot of former Bernie staffers. You're seeing ads on him and the crime bill. You're seeing ads going after him on China. You're seeing ads going after him on NAFTA. They haven't gotten to the I like children rubbing my hairy legs. They haven't gotten to, the various weird videos of him very close to children. And I'm not saying this as like giving them ideas. They don't need my ideas. This is the Republican Party. This is Trump. They don't need ideas on how to bludgeon Joe Biden. And the more interviews Biden does, it's a double-edged sword. On one end, if they lock him in the basement, you're not going to inspire excitement that way. But if you don't lock him in, if you let him out to go on TV, he tells people they're not black. God knows what he'll say about Latinos. So I just think, honestly, I bring up the Trump stuff because I don't think we should ignore it. It's disgusting. Trump's inaction and blowing off advisors who were telling him in late January, you need to take aggressive action now, could have saved, there's different estimates, but you're talking tens of thousands of lives here. But the point is, what Trump is doing is exactly what he needs to bring out his base, and what Biden is doing is doing exactly what he needs to bring out the suburban wine-drinking moms of the resistance, but not the people Hillary Clinton lost, or lost pace with compared to Obama in 2012. And honestly, I think he's going to have a young black person's problem. So yes, older black people are very dependable, but if you don't have black voters under 40, and you don't have enough Latinos, you don't have age 18 to 29, that might be the difference. I mean, Hillary lost by 77,000 votes. Biden could lose by that margin or even bigger.
So Trump has a lot of things that Biden doesn't have. One of those things is voter enthusiasm. He also has I truly think that Trump is the best marketer and PR person on the planet. He is able to take Bernie Sanders supporters' anger and hurt and turn that into a way. I'm not saying a ton of Bernie supporters are going over to Trump or anything like that, but he's able to take what happened to Bernie, the clear injustices, the clear disenfranchisement when it comes to Bernie Sanders supporters. He's able to take that and factually lay it out, and you look at some of his tweets and you're like, yeah, that's true. And he understands his base so well. I don't think he even believes the things that he says and does, but he knows his base, he knows how to rile them up, and he is willing, by far, to go where Bernie Sanders was never willing to go. And just like Jordan said, he is gonna run those hairy leg videos. He's gonna run those kid hair sniffing videos. He will stop at nothing to win. And he already has that excited base. That's why I get so upset and nervous when people like CNN's Harry Enton run articles saying, oh, well, Biden is doing so much better at this point than Hillary was at this point in 2016. Well, it's comparing apples to oranges, because for one thing, the primary was still going on at this point. For another thing, it's just, it's nonsensical to compare entire country instead of looking at those states like Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Arizona, Michigan. So it's really, really scary what the establishment's doing, and Biden just doesn't have it. He doesn't have that excitement, especially among millennials.
And I also think, honestly, I'm not a polling truther. If the election were held today, I think Biden would have a good shot to win based on national polls. But the election's not being held today. There's going to be, unless something happens, 3 debates between the two. Trump's going to go nuclear during those debates against Biden. In a one-on-one debate, Bernie treated him like kid gloves. So there's that. And I also think the bottom line is, and I saw this in 2016 in the field, I think people are very much looking at the polls rather than excitement, on the ground. Yes, polls are instructive, but the polls don't always show the true sentiment. A lot of people don't answer polls. A lot of people, there was a portion of Trump voters that were going to vote for Trump that actually didn't say so. For whatever the reason, that was the hidden Trump voter. They were embarrassed to say so or what have you. And I also think at the end of the day, if Biden is going to do the same thing as Hillary Clinton and not actually be proposing anything to be for, the polls could say what they say. It's going to be a lot closer than it should be. Any breathing person right now with quasi-political skills and a legitimate, bold vision would be crushing Donald Trump right now in polls. The fact that he's only up in some polls by 4 points, 5 points nationally, that's as good as tied to me nationally. And again, Jen brings up the point, he's not winning by a lot in these swing state polls. And again, I want to see polls, let's say in a week from now, see how he's doing among black voters after these "you ain't black" comments. And the other thing also is the vice presidential pick. I kind of think he's still arrogant enough to say, to hell with it, the black voters will come home anyway because Trump, and still pick Amy Klobuchar. I think that's going to be the death knell of his campaign. And I also think he has the same delusional people running his campaign that were in that Hillary-Obama world of 2012, 2016 that think there's enough moderate Republicans in America where they don't have to give the progressive movement anything. Now, if he picks Well, he kind of boxed himself in, picking a woman. I'm for it. But if he picks, I don't know, Elizabeth Warren, thinking that's going to win over the progressives, then his campaign clearly doesn't understand where the progressive movement is. It might win 80% of Bernie Sanders supporters, but frankly, you need like 90, 95% of Bernie Sanders supporters to win resoundingly, and I don't think he has it. Last thoughts on this, Jen?
Yeah, it's interesting you brought up Elizabeth Warren and whether or not that would garner more support. And I thought it was fascinating that, not that I watch it, but TYT took a poll and they said 70% of their viewers would be excited and would vote for Biden if Elizabeth Warren were the VP pick. So I was curious as to your thoughts on that. I honestly haven't settled on where I land. I think it might get him some additional votes, but like you say, I don't think it would get him enough. It's just not enough because the policies still are not there. And as I said, millennials are smart. Millennials are policy driven. They see, unlike a lot of boomers, our boomer viewers are amazing, but unlike a lot of people in that age group and older, it's not a I've got mine generation. People might see millennials as being selfish and with their avocado toast or whatever the smashing article of the day about millennials is. But really, if you speak to millennials, which I still am, Jordan, to your dismay, I'm still a millennial. Millennials are smart and millennials are compassionate. Millennials can care about the earth. They care about other people. They truly buy into the not me, us philosophy of Bernie Sanders. And Joe Biden has to get that. He has to understand that if he has any hope. And I just don't think that he will. I don't think he'll ever understand or even try to, because there's that hubris there. He doesn't think he needs to.
I agree. And remember, folks, got our GoFundMe going. If you got any funds, we appreciate your support. It's all going to In the Field reporting. It's also going, Jen, I should bring you back for this. You've been dropping a little bit more money on advertising because of the suppression we've been dealing with on YouTube.
Yeah, so because we're not out in the field right now, we're experimenting with a few different things and trying to get our videos seen because the YouTube suppression has been just massive. Other progressive outlets have noticed it as well, like the Humanist Report has been tweeting about it. But so we've been trying to think outside the box and use different services and just trying to figure out ways to get our stuff seen. Like we've been running some Reddit ads that have been working well. So the more we're able to get people to actually see our stuff, the more people subscribe and the more people are excited about Status Quo, because it's clear that we are doing things that other outlets are not doing, that we are unique in this space. And the excitement is there. We've shot up since we've been experimenting, and we had a couple of really great videos hit. If you haven't seen Jordan's Nina Turner interview and Brianna Joy Gray interview, please watch those. But those videos and videos like that are driving more subscribers. And the more subscribers we have, the more likely we are to land those kind of heavy-hitting interviews that people are interested in. So it has a snowball effect, but it takes some capital to move forward. And unlike others, we're not accepting any Jeffrey Katzenberg money or anything like that.
Whoa.
We are funded by the people for the people. So if you have $5, $10, if you're feeling great, or as Anat would say, if you're feeling frisky, $100 or more, go to gofundme.com/status-coup-news, and any amount helps. It really helps us get seen, and in ways that outlets like YouTube and Twitter are not allowing us to be seen. So we're really trying to grow our base here.
And by the way, for folks commenting on audio, this is the first day we're even doing Skype, so bear with us. We're going to try and work on the audio after. I don't think it's Jen's mic. I think it's either my computer settings or her computer settings, so we'll figure it out.
Yeah, my mic is good. I have a Yeti, so it's good.
Yeah.
So we'll figure it out.
It's the first time we're doing it. We don't have a director or a producer, so bear with us. but we'll get the audio working better for tomorrow. So last story I want to do, which is just tired of covering these types of things. If you haven't seen it yet, another awful evidence of police brutality, this time in Minneapolis. Let's take a look.
Put your feet on this. Bro, with your feet on his neck, man, you get off the
His nose is bleeding. Like, come on now.
That's raw right there with his feet on his neck.
Look at his nose.
You just seen your knee on his neck. Yeah, you got your feet right on his neck. He ain't even resisting the rest.
I cannot breathe.
You just a grown, you're a tough guy. You're a tough guy, huh? I say you're a tough guy. You're not even resisting the rest, bro.
His whole nose is
I fought with him.
Bro, but why you just sitting there? He ain't doing nothing now. Put him in the car.
It'll kill me.
How long y'all gotta hold him down?
This is why you don't do drugs, kids.
It ain't about drugs, bro. You know that's bogus right now, bro. You know it's bogus. You can't even look at me like a man because you a bum, bro. He's not even resisting arrest right now, bro.
His nose is bleeding.
You stopping his breathing right now, bro. You think that's cool? Get off of his neck.
Still on him, bro.
Yes, look at that,
Back on
bro.
the street.
Are you serious? Bro, are you serious? And you gonna keep your thing on your neck? He ain't
Look
handcuffed,
at him.
bro.
Just
You're
sitting
a
there.
real man, bro. You're a real man, bro. I trained with these guys.
The fact that you guys aren't checking his pulse and doing compressions if he needs that, you guys are on
Oh
another
my
level.
God, bro.
And then he just gonna
Okay.
pull him
They
up
just
The guy's name was George Floyd. He obviously was saying, "I can't breathe," which is what Eric Garner was saying in 2014. I heard him say, "I can't breathe" 3 times. Maybe he said it more and I just missed a few times. Unlike Eric Garner, where it took, I think, 5 years, 6 years for an officer to be fired, once that video was released, all 4 officers involved with this have been fired within a day. So that's good. Not sure if that would have happened without the video coming out. I mean, they said that he was suspected of being under the influence of some substances. Inside his car, after he got out, police said the man physically resisted officers. We've heard this many times before. Quote, officers were able to get the suspect into handcuffs and realized that the suspect was suffering a medical distress. You think? A Minneapolis police spokesperson said in a news briefing, officers called for an ambulance. He was transported to Hennepin County Medical Center, where he died a short time later. So, the parts of the video that I saw, he wasn't resisting arrest. He was pinned down, and it looked like the officer that had him pinned down was, frankly, just enjoying it. Like, wasn't in a rush to move it forward, get him in the car, just like kept him down. I don't know why, as multiple people around were screaming, he can't breathe, you're not even checking his pulse, this and that. Doesn't seem like police in America are learning anything from the past decade, whether it be Trayvon Martin, Jordan Davis, Michael Brown, Eric Garner, from the East to the West and the Midwest. It just seems like whether it's conscious or subconscious racism, I mean, that's what this is. They're not doing that to white people. More people are dying, and I don't have a lot of faith that the officers will be tried and convicted. What do you think?
It's really hard to, obviously, to watch these videos, but to the Black community, like, this is trauma, this is traumatic, this happens again and again and again. And as you say, that the white cop looked like he was enjoying it. He didn't care. There was no reason for that to happen. Even if it wasn't a medical concern, there was no reason for him to keep his knee pressed on that man's neck, on George Floyd, is that correct, Jordan?
Mm-hmm.
On his neck. I don't have hope that they'll be tried and convicted. It's a great sign that they were fired, but that's not justice. Just because, even if the man, and this is what the right wing will say, well, he was on drugs and he was resisting arrest. Okay, that's not a death sentence. Cops are not the jury and the executioner. That's not their role. This is racism. This is disgusting. And no, I don't have any hope that justice will come out of this. If it does, it's only because of the public outcry. That's the only reason that it will happen. That's the only reason these officers were fired. And it's absolutely disheartening and disgusting. And everybody, including white allies, needs to step up and speak against this and raise hell.
And by the way, I mean, all of these cases, whether it be Ahmaud Arbery, which just was the bizarre situation where one of the men involved in persecuting him and chasing him was also shooting it. So it wasn't like a friendly person videotaping it. It was somebody that was involved with the father and son duo. But in all of these cases, no justice would come without video. I think a major reason that Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman got off was there was no video of the actual incident, which would have shown a much different story. But even with video, I mean, the bottom line is, and we have to bring this back to the presidential election, a lot of this police brutality, I mean, it didn't start under President Obama, but accelerated under President Obama, and he kind of took a, federal versus state versus local approach and made statements as president about injustice and some of these black men being murdered, but nothing really happened. I mean, the Department of Justice, the investigation into Eric Garner, the DOJ investigation began under Obama's Department of Justice. They didn't charge the officer, Daniel Pantaleo, and it bleeded over into the Trump administration, and they dropped the case. So at a certain point, weird. I don't know why your thing went away again. Hold on. At a certain point, you need presidential leadership in this to start regulating the police. And, a lot of people don't like that. And a lot of people are like blue lives matter thing. And I don't think all police are terrible. I know some police, and they're not all bad. And a lot of them think this kind of behavior that we're seeing with this cop is completely, not in the training manual and not how you should behave and de-escalate and what have you. But the bottom line is, the only way this is going to change is if every officer that does these kind of things is convicted and put in jail for close to life. At this point, that has to be the marker. Doesn't mean police doing their job aren't at risk or don't have a tough job or whatever, but that's the job you choose, right? That's the job you choose. So it might be tough, but you gotta, you cannot. If somebody, you suspect somebody is on drugs, they're in their car, how does it lead to you with your knee on his neck? That's what I don't understand. Because I didn't see in the video, George putting up a fight or with a gun or anything like this. If new evidence comes out, we'll adjust. But from what I've seen and read, that's not the case. And unless he's shooting at you, you don't have a right to choke him. And they should know from other incidents, bending your knee into someone where their face is on the ground could cut off their breathing. I mean, we saw it with Eric Garner with the chokehold. We've seen it in other cases. So it's just horrible. I don't expect much. The mayor, sang the right tune, the mayor of Minneapolis. So we'll see what happens. But right now, between Ahmaud Arbery, this case in Minneapolis, you have the other case in Louisville, with the black woman that was literally, the cops were looking for somebody else and shot her dead accidentally, but still. I mean, it's just this shoot first, knee them to the ground while they're handcuffed. It's barbaric aggression, and it needs to stop. And I think more white people need to start speaking up here. It's not enough to have black people protesting. I mean, I've been at a lot of these protests. What happens, we will follow the case as it develops. Let me make sure I give shout outs before we go. Thank you to Salwan, $10 in the GoFundMe. We are now $465 away from our goal. $465 from $104,000 raised. Once we hit $104,000, we are $6,000 away from the ultimate goal of $110,000. Let me read some super chats. And once Jen and I get this down, she'll be able to read some too, because I know you want to hear from her. Hold on. Marla in 3D, $5. Why are we being asked to choose between geriatric, racist, misogynist, war criminals for the highest office? It's a low bar. Demand better choices. Yeah, I can't really say it much better than that. I totally agree with you. Oh man, I missed the rest of the super chats. Is there a way for me to go back, Jen?
Not that I've ever found, no.
All right. My bad if I missed your super chat. Tell me, email me if I missed your super chat, and I'll read it tomorrow. So that's it for our maiden voyage. We had some audio problems. We're going to work on that now with Colin to get it perfect for tomorrow, or close to perfect. Shouldn't set the bar too high, but we'll get it. We don't have a director. We don't have a producer. We don't have any of that. It's just the two of us who are pretty tech challenged to begin with. Colin helps us. So, yeah, but what are you doing with the money? Yep, X. What am I doing with the money? Yep, X. Have you ever seen this map? Yep, X. That's what we're doing with the money. We don't talk. We do. We get out into the field. We need to add some other microphones to this map because we've been to a lot of other places reporting. So yeah, what do we do with the money? We have purchased this new computer. We purchased a brand new live view, which is going to help us when we go in the field to have as close to flawless broadcasting live as possible. Jen's spending the money on advertising so we can get the word out as much as possible because YouTube is suppressing us, so we have to advertise to get more subscribers and get more awareness that Status Quo even exists. Believe it or not, I would say 60 to 70% of paying attention progressives do not know about Status Quo. People that watch secular talk, Jimmy's show, the Young Turks, even Joe Rogan might not be classified as progressive, but people online interested in politics have no idea about Status Quo, so we have to spend money on advertising, and most of all, we need money to actually get out in the field. There's a lot of outlets that talk about going out in the field. There's not a lot of them that actually do it on a consistent basis. And because we have lost over 100 paid members because of coronavirus and a lot of people understandably having to cancel their memberships, we're raising money in the GoFundMe to kind of offset those losses. So when we can go in the field, we have the funding to do that. Did I miss anything, Jen?
No, you did not. You got it all.
Oh, also sending out the text messages costs money too. How much is that costing us?
Oh yeah, about $30 per text. So we try to do it more frequently now because YouTube's suppressing us so much. So every little bit helps of support. Yes, and by the way, if you're not on our text list, text COUP to 370-370. That's COUP to 370-370. We sent a text today. We'll probably send one for the rest of the week. See how that does. But again, that costs us money. It's, so we got to raise $40 per live stream just to, break even on the text. Obviously, we want to raise more than $40, but you get the point. So, from the United Corporations of America's headquarters, thank you to Jen for joining us. We're going to test right now to get the audio go a lot better for tomorrow. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye. Bye, all.